Established in 1970 by Fabricland, Fabricville has become the #1 source of fabrics and draperies in Canada. After opening their first store in Montreal, they have now over 24 stores throughout Quebec and Atlantic Canada. They are strongly committed to delivering exceptional world-class customer service. Not only do they carry their own collections, but they also sell brands such as Michael Miller, Henry Glass, and different licensed products from Disney and Marvel. In 2004, they launched their new and improved e-commerce website to create better accessibility for those who lived in rural areas. The online fabric store offers customers with the best selection of fabrics for fashion, home decor, crafts, and quilting, as well as sewing notion patterns, drapery, hardware, accents, and accessories. This helped many customers around the world access their products with more ease. Now that you've learned a little bit more about the company, join us as we interview Ricki Carr, Fabricville's VP of Store Operations.
Okay, so what does it mean to be a VP of Store Operations?
Well, it means a major responsibility, okay, because you not are only important to how the stores operate, but you're important to the employees, to answerable to the bosses. It's a huge responsibility. You have to ensure that you have good customer relations. You have to make sure that all the operations are up and running at full speed all the time. So it's quite an all-encompassing job. It really requires someone who is able to multitask, to focus, and to get the job done. And also to be a leader and to be able to delegate responsibility. You can't do it all yourself.
No, that's for sure. So what are some of your day-to-day activities?
Well, business has changed dramatically, and I think that it's important for the students to know that probably today the most difficult issue that you have in any business is the human resource aspect of your job.
Okay.
So that's a major part of my responsibility in ensuring, for example, now that cannabis has come about, to ensure that you have policies and procedures in place for all your staff. And then, of course, in some of my responsibility in the store operations is to ensure that the inventory arrives on time, that the stores are well stocked, that the employees are well trained on customer service, that the advertising and marketing departments are up to snuff, that you manage all your budgets, that you manage all the teams, and you ensure that there's good leadership to ensure the values of the company. And bottom line sales.
Sounds like a busy job.
It is very busy.
On the more creative or logistical side of things.
Okay, so what we found interesting about this question was when most people think of creative, they think of advertising and marketing. But you have to be creative in many different ways today. So, for example, you have to be creative in how you're going to conquer the challenges of human resource, how you're going to be creative in coming up with new ways to meet the budgets with all kinds of different constraints. So creativity is not only about what happens in your paper, okay, from a graphic point of view, but being creative in all aspects of your job.
So what's the most rewarding aspect of your job, and then the most difficult aspect of your job as well?
I think the most difficult aspect of the job is really trying to keep people motivated, because retail has unfortunately a different kind of connotation than having someone who's managing, a high-end position, managing the store. But really, there are so many things that encompass that part of the job,
for sure.
that especially working with the public today, it's very rewarding when you get an email or a phone call from a customer that says, this particular person went out of their way to help me to finish this project. Or we're very involved in some charities. So when we donate a lot of fabric to different charities and then they send us in the quilts or the blankets that they've made for different hospitals, those are the real rewarding parts of the job.
Yeah. So now talking about, working within the company, is there opportunities for growth within Fabricville when you're working for the company?
Absolutely. There's always opportunity for growth, especially in today's market, where retail is changing so dramatically and we're going more and more online. Our e-commerce department has taken off tremendously. And so we're constantly looking for people who have the technological savvy, whether it's in fashion or anything else. That's a major part of, getting things up and running. And then, of course, with retail changing, we're always looking for people, even in the real estate division, You know, so people who think retail don't think that you need someone who's involved in real estate or even in the woodworking department, because we always need new displays.
Yeah.
So, you know, working for the company has many different divisions, but it's not only about the fabric. Oh, yes, there is opportunity for growth, and very often when you start in the company, the position isn't there. And you
really?
create the position. So that's how I became vice president, because I started working. There was a division in the company that had children's wear boutiques within the stores.
Yeah.
And I was managing those boutiques. And then the owner of the boutiques decided to up and leave and go to Toronto. So the present president said, you know, would you like to work as an assistant to the buyer? So I worked as an assistant to the buyer for an extended period of time. But then we started doing advertising, which wasn't on the computer. Everything was done by hand.
Yeah.
And so I started working as an assistant, and then I said, listen, I don't like it. I did not like the buying aspect of the job at all, because the problems were consistent. Problems in buying are always the same. The goods aren't coming in on time, the lab zip didn't come in the right colors, so it was very repetitive. But advertising had a different challenge. So I said, I'm going to create the advertising department. And they said, go for it. So after I created the advertising department, I got an assistant, and then the position kept growing. So anybody that we hire, for example, at head office, we always tell them, we want you to go out and work in the store for about 2 weeks, so you understand the philosophy of the company and the way that we work on another level.
It's really interesting, because a lot of companies don't do that.
Yeah, we do that. Mm-hmm. And once in a while, I'll take everybody from head office and I'll say, okay, guys, we have to go back and work in the store, because we have to refocus and understand what's happening at the store level.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a nice perspective.
Yeah. Undercover boss.
Yeah. So how does Fabricville fit into the fashion industry?
We constantly go, let's say, to Premier Vision or Heimtex, and we see what all the companies are bringing in from all over the world.
Yeah, okay.
So, for example, the fashion industry in Germany has a show that encompasses 9 huge buildings about this size of all the different fabric from all over the world. So we visit the countries by going to one location. We visit, you know, Turkey and Sri Lanka and anywhere in China and Paris and Italy, and our buyers travel through the world, and they do bring back all different fabrics and ideas. We don't have fashion in finished garments. We have fashion, so you can create your own fashion. And what's interesting today about fashion is it's not necessarily about what's trending.
Yeah.
Fashion is what looks good on you and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So in the old days of sewing, people used to say, I sew because I have a figure fault, or I sew for economical purposes. But today, that's where it would fit into your own creativity, or because you like crafting or doing something for yourself.
Yeah.
And then we, you know, when we do go to the fashion shows or when we go to Premier Vision, we take an aspect of the fashion that we see. So, for example, if they're showing something that has like tons of feathers and leather, we might say, okay, well, feathers aren't going to work in the summertime in Montreal. You know, leathers will work in the summer, in the winter time, in our stores. So we take the fashion and we try to apply it here to our climate and to our market.
So if you could give any advice to students or recent graduates about how to embark in the fashion industry, what would you say?
We're going to interview for a company, whether it's in the fashion business or not. There's a couple of rules that still apply. So know the company that you're going for. Make sure that you've gone onto their website and be knowledgeable before you actually go for the interview. If you want to get involved in the fashion business, it's not necessarily only about fashion as the women know it, but fashion, it encompasses so many other things. It could be in design, it could be in graphics, it could be, as I said, in inventory controls, it could be in real estate, it could be in doing creative things like having in-store demonstrations or fashion shows. So, and be aware of the fashion that's going on and the trends in the marketplace. Not only in your demographic, but trends that are happening that are going to be carried over, for example, into the drapery department.
Yes.
Years ago,
Yeah.
I think I mentioned to you before, you know, drapery was always very basic. Well, today, you know, the brights are very in, outdoor living is very in, so that's also fashion. So if you're interested in something like interior design, you have to be aware of what's happening in the fashion in interior design. So,
and one thing that I got too from speaking with you about this is that students shouldn't be afraid to start from the bottom.
right.
Because I feel like talking to students today, they're always like, I need to go directly into the position they want to have. But speaking with you, you were saying that it's okay to start at the bottom. It's even actually beneficial. And then they can slowly or quickly make their way up to the position.
Generally, what I would say is that if you're willing to learn and you show initiative at the very beginning, and you're keen, okay, that's going to be respected and admired and looked for by your superiors. And that's probably going to be something that will very quickly move you up the ladder. But if you expect to come in at the top of the ladder just because you have an education doesn't necessarily give you the common sense and the applicable skills that you need for the job. So you should really want to start from the bottom and learn everything that you possibly can to ensure that you do a good job. People in our marketing department, we need people in our photography department, we need people in e-commerce, which is something that is really, really growing. So in e-commerce, we have so many openings right now, not only for picking and shipping, but also for the logistics of how an e-commerce site should really function. We need technological help in our e-commerce site. We need merchandising in our e-commerce site. It's a whole entity unto its own. So that has nothing to do with fashion. That has everything to do with business and management. Very often looking for facilitators who can come on the seminar with us and train in merchandising. And we actually are looking for people all the time to do in-store merchandising and help us show our products to the best of their ability. We're looking for facilitators in customer service. We're looking for trainers to train our on-the-floor people to give us and help us ensure that we do the best possible customer service. So although we say that we're a fashion industry, we're also a business that has a lot of different arms and a lot of different spokes to make this wheel operate. So yes, there's a lot to do with fashion, but it also has a lot to do with business. And we do encourage stage for students, but the students really have to come in willing to work from the bottom up. And if they really are interested in learning, we have a ton of work that we can help them learn the process and learning about fashion as well as retail. Okay, bye ladies.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Keep us in mind when you're looking for a job.